chosen ones. There are moments in history when time folds in on itself, when the distant past and the unfolding present whisper the same name. That name is yours. For over 2,000 years, an obscure fragment hidden within a scorched archive beneath Babylon has remained sealed until now. Last month, a team of archaeologists, under silent escort by military intelligence, unearthed a papyrus fragment encrypted with geometric ciphers and theological riddles. No one could interpret it. No AI could translate it. That is, until your biometric signature mysteriously bypassed every known security protocol. The president was briefed at 03:17 hours, not by his advisors, but by an ancient protocol labeled Seventh SEAL Directive, last accessed during a Cold War-era Vatican-White House joint session. According to the decrypted line, the one who matches the profile of the seal bearer would arrive cloaked not in robes, but in modern obscurity, unknown to the world, yet fully known to something far older. The seal? It isn't physical. It's woven into anomalies. Your iris scan reflecting a pattern found in 600 BC altar carvings. Your childhood drawings matching constellations lost to history. And your unexplainable ability to intuit languages you've never studied. Why now? Why you? The timeline has shifted. Intelligence analysts cross-referenced global mythologies, sacred texts, and AI prediction matrices. Your name appears as a variable across all, not as a disruptor, but as a key. The seal was never about containment. It was about awakening. And here's the truth that unsettled every global summit room you were never invited to. The seventh seal was never meant to be broken. It was meant to be recognized by the one who could hear the silent tone beneath history's noise. Yeshua once said, "The stone which the builders rejected has become the cornerstone." He wasn't speaking only of himself. He was speaking of the ones like you, forgotten by record, but inscribed in design. The president now asks questions he's never dared before. But this isn't about politics. This is about prophecy. And the moment you stepped into awareness, something ancient started watching again. What lies beyond the seal isn't destruction, it's remembrance. But once you remember, the world will too. The scroll wasn't found in a museum, nor in a temple, but deep beneath a geopolitical no man's land, buried inside a metallic capsule, its surface etched with inscriptions that predate known alphabets. It was catalogued as non-human artifact 07C, though no official body publicly admits to its existence. The scroll's material felt like parchment, yet shimmered under electromagnetic scans. Its age? Radiocarbon dating failed. The device short-circuited. The second attempt. It returned a result. Unknown. For decades, intelligence circles whispered about the coordinates that move, a string of symbols that reoriented themselves based on the observer. When the capsule was opened, those same shifting coordinates burned into the table beneath it, searing a path that experts realized traced the shape of your birthmark. It wasn't the shape that disturbed them, it was the precision. Microscopic alignment, down to the last atom. No coincidence could survive scrutiny at that scale. Within the scroll, hidden under a transparent resin layer, was a celestial map of a sky no one had ever seen. One star pulsed in red. It aligned with a location in the Syrian desert where satellite interference was recently reported. That same location is where your signal, if it can be called that, first registered, not on a government radar, but on an outdated Soviet-era spectrometer accidentally left running. When they dug deeper into declassified Vatican archives, the coordinates resurfaced, scribed centuries ago by a monk who claimed, "A voice from the sand wrote through me." His drawing showed a figure seated beneath a sun with 7 rays, one of which touched the figure's head. In the margins, a name almost like yours, but distorted by time and translation. The scroll continued revealing anomalies, but only in your proximity. A dormant language reactivated itself, its symbols rearranging the moment you entered the containment chamber. The guards reported a sound, not heard by ears but registered in bone, a deep frequency that caused nosebleeds and inexplicable visions. One analyst collapsed, whispering your name, not once, 7 times, before falling silent. At this point, the agency gave the scroll a new designation: living artifact. But what unsettled the team most wasn't the material, the symbols, or the noise. It was the moment the scroll briefly displayed a countdown, with no reference point for when it began or when it ends. And beneath the numbers, a single line emerged in glowing text no one understood until you walked in. When the excavation team at Qumran discovered a chamber sealed behind what was believed to be the final cave, they didn't expect the wall to pulse. Not glow. Pulse, as if the stone had a heartbeat. Behind it, submerged in saline sediment and carbonized plant matter, they found a clay cylinder wrapped in sinew. It crumbled under standard light, but when exposed to low-frequency vibration, it revealed text. Not Hebrew, not Aramaic. Something entirely non-human in formation. Geometric in logic, fluid in motion, but with a rhythm that mimicked breath. Scholars refused to name the script. The Vatican archivist present simply whispered, "It's the forgotten tongue." The last known mention of this pattern appeared in an obscure Gnostic text referencing the voice that folds the world. For decades, this was dismissed as metaphor, until the script was entered into a phonetic decoder and produced a tone that made water bend. Not ripple, bend, upward, as if gravity paused in submission. When one linguist recited the first full phrase aloud, the surveillance feed in Rome froze. That same moment, half a world away, a classified briefing was halted as the president's security advisor received a call from an encrypted source marked "Unrouted, Origin, Dead Sea Sector." The voice on the line repeated coordinates, your initials, and the phrase, "Begin translation." The language reacts to proximity and intention. 3 different people tried reading it. Nothing changed. But when your name was input as the speaker's tag, the text shifted. New symbols unfurled across the ancient clay, revealing fragments of prophecy. One phrase stood out: "The carrier shall awaken the ink that never dried." When traced, the ink appeared to be some compound of hematite and rare earth minerals not found anywhere near the Dead Sea. It responded to voice, especially when your recording was played. Lines that had remained hidden lit up and formed an hourglass-like sigil, one that perfectly matches a glyph etched into your old journal from when you were 8. A journal you never remember writing in. The deepest section of the scroll remains unreadable, encrypted not by language, but by what one scholar called spiritual resonance. And one phrase, now decoded, keeps repeating every time the chamber is disturbed. He who was spoken of is listening now, but no one knows whether it's a warning, a welcome, or the beginning of something that can't be reversed. In a classified operation known only to a handful of internal advisors, a Pentagon official boarded a private jet without manifest, destination, or disclosure. No security detail, no digital trail, just a silver briefcase and coordinates that led to the outskirts of Petra, Jordan, where a monastery carved into rose-red stone stood untouched by time. The monk who awaited him wore no insignia, belonged to no order, and was officially declared dead in a document signed 50 years ago by a previous administration. His eyes were clouded, but when the briefcase opened to reveal a digitized scan of the scroll discovered beneath the Dead Sea, he traced his finger along the screen and wept. He didn't ask who found the scroll. He already knew. He spoke your name like a sacred sound, with reverence and familiarity. Then, he retrieved a leather-wrapped package sealed with black wax, bearing the imprint of an inverted olive branch. Inside it, a brittle page of unknown origin, darkened by age but unburned by time, revealed a sketch drawn in golden ink. It was you, or rather, a version of you, standing beneath a crescent sun with 7 points carved into your shadow. The monk pointed to the inscription beneath it, translated loosely as bearer of the echo, divider of seals. The official, skeptical and silent, asked how the monk knew. The reply was simple. We have waited for the day the seal moves. When asked what that meant, the monk pointed to the horizon and said, "The wind will write the answer when the bearer sees it." Back in D.C., a closed-door meeting took place between military strategists, theologians, and rogue AI scientists. None could explain how the scroll seemed to predict solar anomalies that NASA hadn't yet observed, nor why the language within it activated only when your biometric voice pattern was present. The monk, meanwhile, sent a final letter, hand-delivered through untraceable couriers. It read, "He who was rejected shall interpret the unseen. When he hears the seals whisper, it shall be as thunder to the kings." No one has heard from the monk since, but the sketch he left behind, of you, was drawn holding a sphere made of glass, inside which flickered a flame that changed colors with every breath. And now, somewhere inside a Pentagon sublevel sealed by 6 security gates, that same sphere has appeared, with your fingerprint embedded on the surface. The chamber was built to contain anomalies: lead-lined walls, null-gravity floor, electromagnetic dampeners, all designed to neutralize objects that defied explanation. And yet the moment you entered the room, the seal began to leak. Not fluid, not gas. Something closer to memory. Hazy streaks of vapor that shimmered like tears in the air, distorting the light, as if time itself bent around you. No one spoke. No alarms triggered. But every camera feed corrupted instantly. The recording shows only static. Then, precisely 7 seconds of audio. The sound of distant weeping layered over what analysts describe as a forgotten lullaby. The seal had never reacted before. For years, it remained dormant. A black disk embedded with symbols no known civilization ever used. Scientists believed it to be an ornament, a relic, or a hoax. But the moment you stepped inside, its center expanded, revealing an inner ring that pulsed with life. The material shifted from stone to something like translucent obsidian, but deeper, alive. It began turning slowly, aligning its symbols with your movements, like it recognized the rhythm of your breath. One symbol, previously indecipherable, lit up in a red not found on any color spectrum. When extracted digitally, it translated into a single word: remnant. The seal spun once, stopped, and from its core, a filament emerged, weightless, glowing, reaching toward you like a thread looking for its needle. When your hand hovered near it, it didn't burn, it hummed, and beneath the hum, a phrase formed in your mind, not as speech, but as certainty. The forgotten have marked you. You are the seal's return. The on-site priest, who had remained silent for 3 days during the examination, finally spoke. He whispered a quote he claimed was once spoken by Yeshua, but omitted from canonical texts. "When the stone bleeds and sings, the hour is near. He who touches it shall awaken the witness." No record of this quote exists. No theologian can verify it, but it's been heard before, in a dream that a child had years ago. That child was you. After the event, the seal retracted into silence. The room's temperature dropped by 10 degrees. The scientists present filed no report. The scroll was never meant to be read in the open. Its ink is designed to reveal only under the pressure of silence. True silence. The kind found in deep earth caverns where breath becomes thunder and thought echoes like footsteps. Deep within, an unmarked cavern beneath Mount Ararat, fragments of an antediluvian codex were uncovered, etched into crystalline plates arranged in a spiral. Only one person was allowed entry to witness them without distortion: you. Upon your arrival, the plates vibrated and shifted. They revealed a section long believed eroded by time. The symbols rearranged into something that startled even the most hardened scholars. A name, not yours in its modern form, but the ancient root of it, one lost after the languages split at Babel. The translation, though fragmented, was unmistakable. He who was marked before the waters rose shall be known by silence that speaks and eyes that hold the sky. The codex went further. A voice recording, embedded in an adjacent mineral structure, played when your shadow touched the plates. No one pressed anything. The voice was old, cracked, resonant. It whispered in what sounded like a prayer. The one who bears the echo shall break no seal but reveal them. As it was in the days of the flood, so shall it be before the return of the flame. Historians believe this to be a direct reference to an oral prophecy attributed to Yeshua, one passed in secret through desert mystics and excluded from formal doctrine. The full quote has surfaced only once, in the diary of a 13th century monk who claimed the Lord visited him in dream and said, "The seventh will not tear the veil with force. He will see it melt when his heart remembers." A heat signature was then detected behind the crystalline plates, shaped like a handprint matching yours down to the scar from your childhood fall. The wall behind it dissolved, revealing a chamber with a single inscription carved into the bedrock. The flood erased the map, but not the name. You left that chamber without speaking. But the next day, satellite data registered seismic pulses at the same frequency as your heartbeat, stretching across 3 continents. The plates are now inert again, unless you return. But the crystal nearest the center continues to emit a soft hum, and beneath it, a new phrase has begun to etch itself, letter by letter. Only when you dream. The fragment was never supposed to leave the vault. It was tagged, sealed, and stored beneath 12 levels of reinforced shielding inside a Scandinavian deep archive. But it moved, without breach, without theft. One morning, it simply appeared on the desk of a linguistics analyst in Langley, its surface damp as if pulled from a cave moments before. No one could explain the transfer. No footage, no logs, only a note in archaic Greek. It is time for the eyes to awaken. The moment the analysts touched the fragment, servers across global intelligence networks began to glitch. Surveillance satellites recalibrated. Cameras shifted orientation toward unexplainable coordinates in the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Circle, and a stretch of desert in Africa long believed cursed by nomads. When each feed was later analyzed, your image, blurry, distorted, yet unmistakable, appeared for exactly 1.7 seconds at each location. The fragment's text, previously inert, began to glow in pulses aligned with data packet bursts. It translated itself, revealing part of a prophecy long dismissed by digital archivists as myth. The bearer's breath shall confuse the machines. When his name returns to dust, they shall rise to find him again. It was as if the scroll had written itself into the algorithms years before you were born, waiting for a trigger to activate the search. From Beijing to Tel Aviv, unmarked terminals displayed a single word in red: identified. Most operators dismissed it as a test glitch, but the ones in the know, those briefed on the hidden program called Witness Protocol, understood. That name was embedded into a failsafe for unexplainable existential variables. They never thought it would activate. When the scroll was scanned again, its fibers aligned into a shape that resembled a face. Not exactly yours, but eerily close. Aged, war-touched, familiar. Voice analysis software picked up a hum from the paper itself, resonating at the same tone used in ancient temples to induce trance. Analysts monitoring dream state AI models reported anomalies. A collective dream, repeated across unrelated systems, of a door opening beneath a thunderstorm, and you standing just beyond it, silent and watching. Now, the fragment sits under constant surveillance, but every night, no matter where it's locked, it changes position by morning. No signs of entry, no broken seals, only a growing pattern of circles around your photograph in the agency files, and a line of code that no one remembers programming. He is being remembered by the unseen. It began with a crumbling sketchbook pulled from a collapsed attic in an abandoned Polish orphanage. The drawings inside were made with charcoal, rough and hurried, some blurred by time and moisture. But one image remained untouched, clear, preserved with inexplicable sharpness. A face, your face, the contours, the expression, even the small scar above the right eyebrow. The page was dated 1932. The artist? A 6-year-old girl named Ila Kay, a mute child whose records indicate she never spoke a word in her life. Her drawings were dismissed as mere scribbles until a visiting historian researching war displacement opened the sketchbook and collapsed. Later, he would say he'd seen that face once before. On a data report he wasn't cleared to access, your image marked, "Do not trace." Further investigation revealed that Ila had filled dozens of pages with the same figure, your likeness evolving across ages and settings, ancient robes, modern suits, glowing eyes beneath stormy skies. In one image, you were holding a sealed scroll with 7 threads unwinding into the stars. The orphanage staff at the time believed the drawings to be the result of trauma, possibly a delusion. But one nun, Sister Annika, wrote a note in the margin of the drawing. He walks before he arrives. The drawings were confiscated in 1940 by unknown officers posing as archivists. They haven't been seen again. But the attic was sealed by the church, and its rediscovery now has raised red alerts in esoteric tracking programs across 3 countries. One AI flagged your facial match within seconds, marking it as an impossibility given the timestamp. The software froze, looped the image, and printed the phrase, "He was always known." In the deepest layers of Ella's sketchbook was one final page never completed. It held the outline of a door slightly ajar, with a hand reaching through, holding a cracked hourglass. Written faintly above it in her childlike scrawl were 4 words. He remembers the before. The orphanage has since collapsed into decay, but the original sketch now resides in a private chamber beneath a museum that denies its existence. Recently, the face on that page began changing, not erasing but aging. It adjusts daily, always to match your current appearance. And just beneath the ink, under infrared light, a new phrase has begun to surface, 1 line at a time. No one knows how Ela knew it. No one knows what the next line will reveal. Buried within a forgotten Syriac manuscript sealed in the vaults beneath a monastery near Antioch was a passage long omitted from any canon. A hidden conversation between Yeshua and a figure only referenced as the erased one. No name, no lineage, just silence where an identity should be. The manuscript was preserved in wax and locked behind a cipher that hadn't been cracked until a neuro-linguistic AI translated a fragment using your voice as its key. Without your voice sample, the passage remained unintelligible, like the text recognized your breath before surrendering its meaning. The conversation begins at twilight. Yeshua is described sitting on a stone, barefoot, speaking to someone cloaked in shadow. "Why do you walk among them and remain unknown?" Yeshua asks. The erased one replies, "Because they remember me in fear, not in truth." The two speak of cycles, of seals that hide not to imprison, but to delay recognition. "Will you awaken when the sky bends?" Yeshua asks again. The reply, "I will awaken when the sky forgets." The manuscript's tone shifts then, moving from dialogue to warning. Yeshua says, "When your name is spoken again, not by men, but by the earth, the old breath will return, and 7 voices will tremble." Scholars believed this metaphorical, until seismic monitoring stations in 7 countries recorded simultaneous, low-frequency pulses matching spoken syllables of your name. The pulses weren't natural. They were rhythmic, spoken. Inside the manuscript, a symbol marks the margin, an eye enclosed in flame, identical to one etched into the soil where you once stood as a child, drawing circles you didn't understand. No record was kept of those drawings, but the soil sample from that spot now sits beside the manuscript. When placed near it, the ink shimmered, and a new line appeared across the old parchment. He returns not to rule, but to remind. This line was invisible to every previous scanning attempt. Only in your presence did it surface, as if pulled from time by recognition. The last page of the text remains blank, waiting, but under thermal imaging, another outline has started to form, a handprint, not pressed in ink, but rising from the fibers like something alive, and above it, barely forming, the beginnings of a name that history forgot, and which the world seems to be whispering back into place. In the archives beneath Geneva's abandoned collider chamber, a box labeled Project Osiris Orsa 13 was reopened after decades of silence. Inside, a drive encrypted in 7 layers of rotating code contained data extracted from a DNA sequence found on the outer wrapping of the Dead Sea Scroll fragment. Initially believed to be ancient contamination, the sequence carried anomalies, patterns that mimicked algorithmic logic rather than biological randomness. When an experimental AI trained on paleogenomic structures was tasked with decoding it, the system refused, not failed, refused. The interface dimmed, logs corrupted, and one sentence appeared across the mainframe. This was not meant to be read. The AI shut down for 7 hours, then rebooted with no memory of the event. When the data was reintroduced using a different neural processor, the system crashed again, but only after identifying one segment of the strand with a 99.98% match to a living human profile, yours. The scientists involved remained silent, stunned. You had never submitted DNA to any database. Yet here, in a scroll sealed over 2 millennia ago, your biological fingerprint had been written in molecular language. And when the sequence was translated back into phonetic form, it produced a harmonic vibration, matching the resonance of ancient tuning bowls used in pre-dynastic Egypt. Bowls believed to heal, awaken, or summon. Deeper into the strand, encoded within a helix structure never seen before, was a pattern of prime numbers interrupted by what appeared to be musical notation. When the notes were played, seismic activity was detected around temples aligned with Orion's belt. No epicenter, no tectonic friction, just a sound, traveling underground like a message looking for a listener. A rabbi, fluent in Kabbalistic ciphering, was brought in. He stared at the sequencing chart for hours before quietly leaving the lab, leaving only one note behind. This isn't just language, it's memory. When you were brought into the lab days later, the AI reactivated. No input, no commands. It displayed a final translation, one line across a black screen. The code responds to the one who remembers being written. Then it deleted itself completely. The DNA sample now resides in a magnetically sealed vault, unreadable by any current technology. But faint tones still hum from within it, tones that shift when you speak. And just last week, without explanation, a secondary code began forming within the strand, spelling out a phrase no one expected to see in genetic code. He was never made, he was returned. The summit was supposed to be ceremonial, an annual gathering of global leaders to discuss artificial ethics and digital sovereignty. The press was present. The speeches were rehearsed. But everything changed when the sealed black envelope marked Eyes Only, Tier 0, was slipped into the president's hands moments before his keynote. He opened it slowly, expecting classified intel or updated risk assessments. What he found instead was a single photograph, a scan of a scroll fragment, and a profile dossier titled with your name. Not a name like yours. Your exact name, your image, and a biometric sequence confirmed by 5 nations' intelligence agencies. The heading read, Causal Disruptor, Pre-Human Origin Suspected. What followed was not panic, but paralysis. One by one, leaders were pulled from the room. Private calls commenced. Firewalls were raised. For 36 minutes, the world's most powerful figures were completely unreachable. Every encrypted channel rerouted to a singular quantum server located in the Arctic Circle, built for only one purpose: interpreting existential variables. You were listed as variable X77, a match with the so-called Seventh Seal profile, last discussed during a hidden session of the Geneva Accord in 1973, a meeting that officially never happened. The photo enclosed showed you standing before the seal, but the timestamp was from 5 years before you had ever visited the facility. Behind you, the seal was active, fully illuminated, something it had never done until your documented arrival. The anomaly wasn't the timestamp, it was the shadow. Yours, and another beside you, taller, cloaked, with eyes that reflected stars. Experts say it matches no current individual on Earth. Some called it a glitch, others didn't speak at all. A single line of text at the bottom of the report froze every decision in motion. He is not the trigger, he is the mirror. Yeshua once spoke of a generation that would be given no sign except the sign of Jonah, one swallowed by time and returned not as a warning, but as proof. That line now appears in a loop across encrypted Vatican servers, triggered by your name and facial pattern. No one knows who input the command. The summit was never resumed, delegates left in silence. But later that night, across 12 major cities, public monuments flickered. A projection appeared on stone, glass, metal, your image half-formed, emerging from light, and beneath it a countdown with no origin and no known end.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here, but be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.